the Woodpreneur Podcast, where sawmill owners and lumber entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Every week, real stories from the timber industry, whether you're starting small or running a big operation. Subscribe for real stories and insights from the industry. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Alger, and today our guest is Kyle Jeske with Richardson Hardwoods LLC. Hi, Kyle.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So, Kyle, what's your position with Richardson Hardwoods LLC?
I am a sales and purchasing manager. We are a small family-run business, so we're somewhat jacks of all trades. I do invoicing, sales and purchasing, green purchasing, inventory, credit. I wear many different caps in this business.
Okay. All right. So before we get too far into Richardson, have you always been in the lumber business? And if not, what did you do before?
So no, I have not always been in the hardwood or lumber business. I'm second generation, about 8 years going in the lumber industry. But prior to that, I studied business and marketing education. I worked for a distribution company prior to that, and then I had an opportunity to teach English abroad. So I lived in Spain, in Madrid, Spain, for 4 or 5 years, teaching English to Spanish students. So completely unrelated, actually. Had a great opportunity to do so and took it, and then eventually got into hardwoods from there. My mother has been in industry for 30 years now, and that's kind of how I got my exposure to the industry. So yeah, I did something completely different, but glad to be here now.
Great. Interesting. So do you find that your Spanish as a second language, do you find that helps in your career? Does that help you reach South American markets or anything along those lines?
So in today, we don't do a whole lot of export, so I haven't been able to use my Spanish a whole lot in industry. However, we do have a customer down south that it's helped a little bit. However, in the future, I'd like to grow the company, and I think that it will definitely be a valuable skill to have moving forward. I'd love to get into export markets and Mexico, South America, and including Spain in the EU and Europe. So long term, I have about another 30 years between this. So I think it will help definitely in the future. Thus far, not so much, but we're a small business looking to grow. So yes.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, how cool would that be to go back to some of your old stomping grounds and be selling lumber into that? That would be like full circle right there.
Dream come true. I'd get the best of both worlds. That'd be amazing.
Right. Absolutely. So your company isn't just a brokerage. So you're not just getting commissions off selling other people's lumber. You're actually a trader. So you're actually purchasing the lumber. Is that correct? Or did I mess that up?
Yeah. So I like to think of Richardson Hardwoods as a three-pronged approach to our business. We have a partner sawmill in which we sell 100% of the kiln-dried inventory out of Columbia, Kentucky, and we're very hands-on. We're part because we speak with ownership 5-6 times a day. We help with green purchasing. We do 100% of the inventory. We do just a lot of the day-to-day stuff like credit checks, tracking receivables, many different things. So we sell our own kiln-dried inventory. The partner is E&B Sawmill in Columbia, Kentucky, and Regan, Tennessee. In addition to that, we do purchasing internally for a large manufacturer in the state of Wisconsin, which allows us to have long-term relationships with many different mills all over Appalachian states, as well as the Midwest, and then some in both as well. And then in addition to those two first prongs, if you want to call it that, the third prong approach would be wholesale. So if we can't fulfill customers' needs with our own inventory, we will buy, install, and connect buyer and seller wholesale material as well.
Okay.
Okay, interesting. So the mill that's your mill isn't it's operated by another entity, but all of the material that comes through it, Richardson's Industries sells. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes and no. So we sell all of so the mill is B&B Sawmill. They are a sawmill in Reagan, Tennessee, and they were a grain sawmill. And about 20 years ago, Wendy approached them and said we could sell lumber on the kiln dried market instead of just selling it green. So at that time, we started custom kiln drying at different locations. Since then, they have set their own kilns. So we're in constant contact with them about green purchasing of lumber and inventory. So we're their sales arm essentially. No, that's not to say the owner, if he has a customer or a different lead, he can sell the material as well. But we are essentially their sales arm.
Got it. Okay.
When inventory is building, it's our responsibility to move the material. So
All right. All right. Well, that is a great relationship, and that's a great model for we're looking across the nation, and every year we're seeing more and more mills close, and this has been going on since the 90s. Just mill closure after mill closure, and the model that you're using, in my mind, would help alleviate some of the burdens that the bigger mills that are closing have, because the smaller companies can pivot. They have typically lower workman's comp, because they're smaller businesses with smaller footprints, smaller energy costs. In my mind, that seems to make sense and kind of be a pathway for the future to make sure we're still producing the lumber that we need without, getting these massive corporations that can't seem to move, and that keep going out of business. So what are your thoughts on that?
I guess throughout the 80s and 90s, a lot of these ma and pa smaller sawmills, they didn't need to market outside of their regions because manufacturing in the United States was strong, pumping out furniture, flooring, etc. And since then, we've seen a lot of companies start to manufacture abroad, which really hurt our smaller ma and pa sawmills. There's less manufacturing in the Appalachian states than there was. So my goal is really to use uh, technology and our skill set to help these smaller sawmills move their lumber. That might be broadening their customer base, cold calling on behalf of them, and just really making sure that they're hitting a larger potential market than what they're currently hitting. Their stock list might be only sending to 15 people. If I can multiply that by tenfold, I don't know, you're just turning over stones and trying to find different outlets for their products.
Yeah.
That's really the name of the game. And then also on the flip side of that is the buying side. Customers are looking for different materials, and some of it can be very hard to find. And through law of numbers, you contact so many people, eventually you're going to connect A and B together, which is really what we try our best to do.
Yeah.
So I think we have to continue to adapt with what challenges we're faced in markets and really use technology at our fingertips to help the industry and help these sawmills that are struggling currently.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So behind you, I see a sign that says kitchen and bath. Do you ever do the completion of tell me about that?
I'm glad you asked this because I wanted to explain to you what was all behind me. So our logo, there's a bunch of R's, and that is Richardson Industries. Now, each different R stands for a different department in Richardson Industries. So Richardson Industries is our parent company, if you want to think of it as such. They have been around since 1846 or 1847. I could not find a confirmed date, but it was prior to Wisconsin date, actually.
Wow.
Oh, they could not apply for a business license prior to Wisconsin becoming a state. So their actual incorporation date is a little bit of gray area, but it was before Wisconsin became a state. Since then, they have done literally everything in the hardwood lumber industry. They've done cheese packaging and crating. They have done kitchen and bath. They have done, outside of the view, there is Richco Structures, which is still currently creating roof trusses or manufacturing roof trusses, wall trusses, and paneling. They've done Richardson Yacht Interiors in the past. They've done cabinetry or connect cabinets. I do have some items here that they've made throughout World Wars. They've made like gun stock parts, like handles like this. And then we have some woodworking tools as well, like very old stamps. This is how they actually used to mark the lumber.
Yeah.
And then some hand tools for lumber that I don't even know what they are because they precede my existence. I don't know.
Now, you got kind of fuzzy when you were showing me the lumber stamp. Was that for grading or was that for chain of custody, that particular stamp?
Could be used for both. Literally, anytime you needed to put numbers, this is probably for putting pack numbers on lumber itself.
Yeah.
And then also, yeah, I was gonna say labeling the lumber, but mainly for pack numbers because this is like what 1 through 9.
Yes, yeah. So that would be the unit. Okay. The reason I ask is we developed I own a hardwood not just hardwood, a lumber company, an urban wood company here in California. And so we were struggling and that was one of the technologies that there was. And, all these different things or paint or, we're just, numbering it using date sequences or whatever. And we finally developed an actual inventory management system that uses QR code. And so you're scanning it and all the data goes in and it can go from the bundle or unit or truckload all the way down to the individual piece. And oh my gosh, game changer from the old technology. But thanks so much for sharing that. That is a very cool, a nostalgia piece to remind us what we don't want to go back to.
Yeah. I mean, this company Richardson Industries has a very rich and interesting history. They were actually one of the first people to bring electricity to the Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin area through a water mill. And yeah, so it's just a rich and interesting history. And segueing from industries into hardwoods, my stepfather is part owner to this day of Richardson Industries. And mother was a career professional for about 20 years prior to, and they met in industry. And since then, she has founded Richardson Hardwoods, who is what we are today, and have been around for about 11 years. So.
Okay. So the newest branch is around 10 years, but your roots go back over 100.
Yeah, 175, yes. So
175. Wow. That's crazy. What a legacy. What an amazing legacy. And that's family. Is your last name somewhere along the lines Richardson?
Well, my stepfather's name is Richardson. My mother's name is now by marriage, but yeah, they're not 6th or 7th generation owners. So they've been around for a very long time.
Wow, that's impressive. So the entrepreneur roots go deep. So very cool. Very cool. So how long have you been with the company now? Did you say 9 years?
I'm going on 8 years in lumber, but with Richardson Hardwoods, I believe this is my 5th or 6th year. So when I was living abroad teaching English, I had time on my hands because of the time difference. And that's when I actually started cold calling and lead generation for Richardson Hardwoods. And that's when I got my toes wet about the terminology and just learning about hardwoods, lumber grading, etc. And through that, I had a background in inventory. I had lumber purchasing and inventory, and I started doing softwood lumber inventory for a wholesaler or brokerage out of the Twin Cities. I did that for 3 or 4 years and then decided to work for the family business and came over to Richardson Hardwoods about 5 years ago now.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So what is the most exciting part of your career in hardwoods or in the lumber industry in general?
There's a lot of exciting parts. It's such a fast-moving industry. I mean, there's many different challenges we face. Current challenges like tariff news is always changing the game. I guess I just get excited about building this business moving into the future. I mean, it's challenging, but it's something like you get out of it what you put in. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's exciting just to meet new people in industry and learn their stories. And you'll find more times than not that most people are really nice and they mean well. And it's fun and exciting to meet new people, going to conferences and rubbing elbows with other people in industry and learning what they do, what niche they're in, what they produce. So it's exciting just putting business together and lead generation and meeting people and learning things that I didn't know prior. We're trying to get into new products as well, so learning new terminology and learning about different markets is interesting and exciting as well. So, but yeah.
Are you ready to share what some of those new products you're looking to get into might be?
We're on the very tip of the iceberg, but we're trying to get into new markets such as the South and the Pacific Northwest and uh, Southwest as well. So there's markets that haven't really tapped into or don't have a strong customer base in. So I'd like to expand region wise. And then long term, would like to get into MDF, plywood, OSB, SPF, more softwood, like dimensional products. And
I was going to ask you about the softwood. You mentioned trusses earlier.
yeah,
What are you building out of that?
so those are softwoods. Now,
Okay, I assumed, but I was like, wait, I'm going to put a pin in that one for later.
absolutely. So I'm glad you asked, so I can differentiate. Richardson Industries and Richardson Hardwoods, although related through family, they are completely unrelated businesses. So what we do at Hard, completely different from Richardson Industries. They purchase softwoods and manufacture roof trusses. We, however, wholesale or sell hardwoods to flooring manufacturers, cabinetry makers, molding and millwork companies, really remanufacturing facilities that make a product and then sell it to either big box stores or end users or contractors. So Industries does softwoods currently, hardwoods currently does not. In the future, there will be some overlap, but current modern day, we do not. So yeah.
So you mentioned this growth that you'd like to do and be able to kind of dip your toes over in Spain again and work through that. What are some of the steps that you will be taking to ensure that growth? Have you mapped that out yet?
Yes, like I said, we're literally just at the tip of the iceberg of that. We just recently made a new hire, which is fun and exciting. And I would love to have more allocated time to put towards that. We have full plates in terms of hardwoods and our current book of business, if you want to call it that. So it's hard to allocate 20 hours, 30 hours a week to learning new products and cold calling and going to conferences and learning who's in industry, what do they do, what volume do they do, what regions do they ship to. So it's a puzzle of a million pieces. And at the beginning, it's very slow, if you would imagine, just like a puzzle. But as you get further along, it gets easier. And we've bought the box and we just opened the box and we're now starting to put together.
Great.
But we're really excited to do so and to start attending industry conferences in softwoods as opposed to hard.
Okay.
So yeah.
What are some of the conferences that in hardwoods that you attend now?
So every year we attend IHLA, or the Indiana Hardwood Lumber Association. This seems to be industry standard, like the best event year round. A lot of people love this event because the attendance is so high. Not only do you have an opportunity to meet the company owners, but you get to meet the buyers and sellers and the people you're trading with on a day-to-day basis. So IHLA, it used to be every February, but I believe they moved it to March. Last year was the first time they had it in March. So we attend that. Another one is Lake States Lumber Association. We're in the Midwest here. I'm actually a board member of LSLA, or Lake States Lumber Association. Hold 2 events every year, a summer golf outing and then a winter meeting as well. So in January, we'll have the winter meeting. It will be held at Lambeau Field, which is fun and exciting for people who haven't had the opportunity to go to Lambeau ever. And we typically have very good attendance, not quite like IHLA, but we have about 140 member companies come every session.
Great, great. Yeah, sometimes I almost think those smaller groups allow you to meet everyone and go deeper in the relationships and vet out new ideas for opportunities for growth. So that's been my experience at conferences.
Yeah.
The big ones are great, but the small ones sometimes have stronger results. I don't know, just my 2 cents.
No, I definitely agree. At the end of the day, you can't just call a million people and become best friends with all of them. You really need to focus in on uh, who you can benefit. I mean,
Right.
you're not going to really do good business or long-term win-win business if you can't bring some sort of benefit to the table for them. So you really need as many people as you can, but then hone in on your niche. Really find your niche in each market and be a service to your customer. Don't just try to wholesale and take advantage, but really show them the long-term possibilities and have them think long-term as well.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. So are there any issues or trends in the industry that you just feel really passionately about, pro or con, that you'd like to address?
I guess the industry is definitely aging. If you think about your mom and pa sawmills, it's an aging industry. So we need new blood in the system, like myself or um, younger traders that are gonna re-energize the industry. So I think that there's challenges with the average age of the industry and loggers in general. So that's yet to be seen what will play out. But as an industry, you have to adapt. Now, technology is going to be a massive game changer industry in the next 15 to 20 years. After these older mom and pa sawmills start to go out of business or resell, what's going to replace that is larger companies that are technology driven. So I think the industry is going to change a lot. Uh, but this industry, it seems to consolidate and then it seems to grow and then consolidate, and it just comes in ebbs and flows, I guess.
It does.
It's also something that's very hands-on. At the end of the day, you need someone to log, or you need at least an operator to use the technology to log. Will exist long into the future, and I think that there will be many opportunities for younger millennials or even boomers if they want to be in this for another 10, 15 years. But the turnover rate in the next 10 to 15 years, I think, will be up there with really any other industry. So I
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah.
challenge to face.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that I've worked with for decades in the industry, and they're starting to, they're in their 70s and still going strong, but
Yeah.
there's an end date to that, and it's not that far off. So
They have
for,
sawdust in their blood.
right, right. I mean, my dad's one of them, and so getting kids, the next generation educated, loving it. So one of the things that we love to do is education days at logging conferences or at sawmill conferences, or even going into local high schools and junior highs and just showing them how amazing this is. And and they're so, the kids today are so environmentally minded, and to be able to show them, my gosh, this is the only real regenerative product for building, and it's the product of the past, it's the product of the future. And so I think those are things that are really important. What are your thoughts on that, and how we get that next generation engaged?
Jennifer, you're speaking my language. I think that a lot of millennials growing up in public school systems were taught that cutting down trees is a bad thing. You're hurting you're hurting the atmosphere. And we had such a Greenpeace movement. And I think what was lost in translation is, yes, if you're cutting down the rainforest at unprecedented rates, that's not good for the environment. However,
Absolutely.
if it's done in a sustainable way, actually clearing out old mature growth before it falls over and decays and creating a product like handles or furniture or whatever it may be, that wood actually stores the carbon much longer than if you let it decay in a forest. So,
Absolutely.
and I don't think the general public really understands or even thinks about that. They just kind of think what they learned in grade school of cutting down trees is bad, less trees is bad. But if you do it in a way where you're selective on tracts of land and you're not clear cutting the whole thing, it's actually the most sustainable natural resource we have.
Absolutely.
The Real American Hardwood Coalition, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they were a coalition that had a big marketing campaign on HGTV with Chip and Joanna Gaines, and they did a great job in trying to build brand recognition. I think
Right.
the next is public education and really teaching kids from a young age that it literally is the most sustainable resource that we have. A lot of the knockoff products like MDF, or sorry, not MDF, but laminates or your knockoff tiling or flooring.
Mhm.
These are plastics that are going to sit in landfills for thousands of years, whereas lumber will decay and age much more efficiently than that. So yeah.
Right, and stores the carbon until it does, and the beauty of it is when solid wood furniture, solid wood flooring, wall cladding, ceiling applications, even the entire construction build of a barn, as you see, the beauty of it is wood isn't as likely to end up in the landfill because we've created a great industry around reclaimed and deconstructed wood. And so we can actually upcycle it and get even more longevity and carbon storage out of that material. So it just education is key. I almost think too, like we need to, as an industry, start a campaign to educate the TikTok mom buyers, who feel like they need to change their entire furniture collection every year to look at something that's sustainable, maybe, that's real hardwood, and then you change out other features of it, or maybe you paint it now and you do this next time and just really really speak to their heart about changing their mindset about this disposable consumerism of stuff that just isn't going to last. So, and it's really just not as nice. It doesn't have that warmth, that energy that comes from real wood.
The IKEA furniture generation,
Hmm.
you're I think a lot of it has to do with economics as well, where cost of living have raised a lot. So even if you can afford to purchase a new home, what do you furnish it with? Like if you spent all of your money on your mortgage, then you might not be so prone to invest in hardwoods or quote unquote luxury items. However, eventually I think you'll see a back trend where homes will become more affordable and everything would be more sustainable. And there is a real value in hardwood lumber. And I mean, just the return on investment for your home is going to be better if you have hardwood flooring. It's more
Absolutely.
sustainable. And no, I'm glad you brought that up because public education in natural resources is lacking. And I think that we had a negative stigma around it for a very long time. And reversing that should be in my hands and everyone in the industry's hands, their responsibility to educate the public. So,
Right.
but I appreciate the question and I appreciate you creating this podcast just to get the word out and to explain to people how it is actually more sustainable than other knockoff products. So yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's the biggest obstacle in your business? What is the biggest thing that you come up against that prevents sales that you have to overcome? It could be an individual instance that you had to overcome or just a day-to-day, this is my biggest problem.
I guess, I mean, this might sound cliche, but the state of the economy currently, I think most traders would say that is the state of the economy is a massive hurdle that is hard to predict. It's hard to plan ahead. A lot of companies are keeping their pennies close to their pocketbook because they don't know what the next month or what quarter is going to bring. So overcoming that, it has been difficult, but it's really through the relationships that we built, we're able to sustain um, and wait for a sunnier day. I guess other challenges would be just knowing what you don't know, the unknown. Like in Richardson Hardwoods, we would like to expand into Richardson forest products, and learning what you don't know is a massive challenge. And a lot of people wouldn't have the ambition to go to a new conference or rub elbows with new people or learn a whole new product line, but it excites us. We're eager to do so. So there are many different challenges. The main one being the economy, the state of the economy. And I guess what we were just mentioning, competitor products that are eating market share in hardwoods, and reversing that societal way of thinking of, um, instead of investing in knockoff products, invest in real American hardwoods. Way easier said than done, changing the thought process of a society.
Right, right. But I do believe we're making small strides initially in changing the concept of sustainable forestry. And I feel like we're making leaps and bounds. It's not where we
Yeah.
want it to be, but it's so much farther along than when I was in school. You know, and so we're making strides there, and we've got a long ways to go. But I think the next is to what they purchase. I think that's a good next step for education. So Kyle, oh, go ahead.
No, I just said yes, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. Kyle, if you could go back to 10 years ago, Kyle, before you got started, and change one thing about the way you approached your new career, your new lumber industry career, what would that be?
That's a good question. I guess after being in industry and really getting to know people, there's an invaluable connection with your customers if they become your friends. And if they feel like your friend, they're way more likely to work with you and trust you. Trust is an integrity in this industry is everything. I mean, without it, if you burn bridges and get greedy, word of mouth travels extremely fast. It's a small industry, or it's a large industry, but it feels small, like it's tight knit. People know a lot of people. And um, I guess just being more open to going out to conferences, rubbing elbows with people, and don't be afraid. Just put on your best ball cap and move forward. Learn what you don't know. And then also, I guess the way I thought about wholesaler brokerage in general, you hear the word broker or wholesaler, and some companies will have company policy do not work with them because you obviously want to sell to the end user and cut out the middleman if possible. However, throughout time, I've learned that there's a real value in having a wholesaler or a broker there. Now, maybe not every time, but if you can call one person instead of calling 30 different mills, it actually saves you a lot of time to focus on your business of selling products, or marketing your own industry, or marketing your own business. So I think this negative stigma about brokerage or wholesaling, my mind has definitely changed on throughout time. But yeah, I guess just being ambitious and motivating yourself to learn what you don't know, the unknown, really.
Yeah. Yeah. On the brokerage or trading or what have you, I represent Woodmiser products for California and Nevada, and my company does. And one of the things that I find is these producers can produce a lot, but if they're staying small, keeping that small footprint with low overhead, low workman's comp, because they don't have a lot of employees, they like sawing wood. That's what they're good at. They can produce it like crazy, but they don't love the sales side. And if they're out with just, two or three, people on their team milling and producing, they don't always have time to get back to the customers as quickly as customers want to be, to have those calls returned. And so if there's a wholesaler or broker who has a relationship with those smaller mills, it's a win-win. They get to spend time doing what they love to do, which is sawing, and then someone else can work on the selling and keep their business going. And so it's a great marriage. And I think a lot of savvy business owners are learning, I don't like marketing. I don't like sales. I don't like dealing with the public. let somebody else who that's what they do that, and we'll spend our time sawing. So I do see a lot of our clients trending that direction. So good news for you.
There's a real value in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. And I'm not the only one. You have us out there, and we bring true value to your company. So yeah, that's one of the main things that has changed in my mindset long term. But yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, Kyle, how would people be able to reach out to you and connect with you? What's your URL, Instagram handle, LinkedIn if you've got it?
So we are Richardson Hardwoods LLC. You can reach us on the World Wide Web, www.richardsonhardwoods.com. Otherwise, on Instagram, our handle is at Richardson Hardwoods LLC. And really, those are our two main ways of contacting us. My email and phone number is direct on our website as well. And we can send out our stock list or just get in contact with us through the website or Instagram, really.
Great. So if a smaller mill was able to produce to your criteria, to your standards, would it make sense for them to reach out to you and give you an idea of what they've got in inventory? Would that be helpful at all, or is that not what you're looking for?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
If the mill produces a stock list or a list of something that they produce consistently, I would love to hear about what they're producing. Feel free to reach out to me, Kyle at richardsonhardwoods.com for my email address or, like I said, phone number on the web. But yes, absolutely. It's things like that. I love getting inquiries or new stock lists just to peer through what mills are producing what different materials. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I would think you would be able to look at it and go, okay, I don't really have a market for what you're producing today, but I'll keep my ear out. And then at some point that just be a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I've had mills that will quote me on materials that we weren't able to connect on for the first 4, 5, 6 months, but then something changes, and then all of a sudden you start with one product and it snowballs into multiple products and
Great.
building true growth. So that's happened many times. So yes.
Great. Love it. All right. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was great getting to know you and hearing about your particular industry and all of its different prongs there, and great concepts for those of you out there who might be looking for a wholesaler and find value in that. You want to spend time sawing, you don't necessarily want to spend all your time selling and chasing down these clients. Well, Kyle might be able to help you out. Thanks again, Kyle, for being on the show. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. And make sure to subscribe, like wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Of course.